Well, how is everybody doing? Welcome to the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn, where in-depth biblical teaching meets the richness of the original languages and cultural context, bringing the truth of Scripture to real people for real life every single episode. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up and for subscribing. Today, why didn't President Trump put his hand on the Bible at the inauguration? And I will answer the question, what about believers swearing oaths? Because I've been asked that a whole bunch. I know exactly why, by the way, he didn't put his hands on this. I'm going to tell you the true answer, the background to it. Most folks don't know it. And I'm going to give you the scriptural truth about oaths for believers. How is my sound, by the way, everyone listening in chat? Thank you so much for listening. Hi, Miss Sharon. Hey, Miss Linda. So good to see you. Thank you, by the way, Miss Sharon, for your generosity. Thank you also to Dustin for your incredible generosity. Really appreciate it. Also, Jean, thank you so much. Just what a blessing. What a blessing. To any of you who give to our, we're trying to raise funds to help out my dear friend and dear friend of the show, Martin. We're trying to help him finish well. His situation is dire, but I believe I do look cold. Thank you, Jerry. We miss you guys, you, Myra, and Susie. And yeah, it was a great visit. I hope we can visit again soon. So my PayPal is at Dr. DrShawnGreiner, at Dr. Shawn Greiner. And we're trying to raise money to help Martin out, help him to finish well, and to yeah, it's a dire situation, and we need your help if you can. If you can't, 100% understand. So I'm also going to tell you at the end of this podcast all about the prayer breakfast. The prayer breakfast, it's not a breakfast, prayer service, interfaith prayer service. Let me change that here because I don't want to quote that incorrectly. Prayer service controversy regarding Bishop Buddy. So stay tuned. It's going to be at the end. Who is the Episcopal bishop who on 1/21/25 spoke at the interfaith prayer service? And you're going to be surprised to learn. So hang on to the end. So, okay. So I don't know how much of the coverage you all watched. We watched it all. Colleen, Miss Colleen, Jerry. Hey, Chris Cycle, how you doing? Good to see you. And so Jerry and Myra and Susie, their sweet doggy, and podcast puppies, Buddy, Micah's buddy, and they hit it off. They had a good time. Well, you know, they did work stuff out, figure it out. They did. And so now Micah is in mourning because his dear friend, well, you know, and Susie would sit on my lap and Micah would sit on Jerry's lap. That was the craziest thing, but it was fun. Anyway, so we all watched it. We all watched the whole thing, which was kind of my doing because I really wanted to see the whole thing. I knew it would be an amazing thing. Hey, Mason, how are you? Blessings from Chapel Hill. Hey, John, how are you? You have an echo on the audio. Let me turn this down slightly. All right, let's see here. Thank you for letting me know that. Let me put this back just a hair. How about now? Let's see here. We'll give a little less sparkle, a little less punch. There we go. Hopefully that's good. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. You might. I'm not really sure why you would be getting an echo. There's nothing with a speaker playing. It's playing straight into my monitors. So my in-ear, I use in-ear monitors because I can't have my hearing aids in while I'm doing the show. So this plays it, amplifies it in my ear. So there were 3 minutes. They were 3 minutes behind, right? So thank you, John. I appreciate that. That's very, very helpful, by the way, because if you knew what a tech nerd, well, I'm not a tech nerd. I'm a tech ignerd. So I'm ignorant, very, very ignorant. And anyway, so what had happened was, and when I say we watched the whole thing, we did. And then we watched the national champion. Jerry and Meyer were troopers. And you know what? Miss Colleen was a trooper too. Because, you know, that's a long day. That's a long day sitting in front of the touch tinny. I'm wondering why. Let's see here. We'll go back this way. a little less sparkle, a little less punch. There we go. See how that does. So good afternoon, Robert. Good to see you. By the way, everybody, just so you know, if you're listening on podcast, any number of, you're listening on the playback, the audio only playback of this podcast, please come over to the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn YouTube channel. Click on subscribe, hit the thumbs up, click on all notifications. That way you'll know, because this is not a normal day where I would normally do a podcast. So I really appreciate you listening. And that really helps out the show. We want to get to at least 1,000 so we get pushed in the algorithm at YouTube. But all of you who are listening, I think it's 32, I think I counted the other day, really, really appreciate all the different organizations listening to where we push the show out. So we're watching it, and I have a little bit of familiarity with the inaugurations. I had some involvement in some different things over the years, and I have, let's just say, a very dear friend who is very closely involved in President Trump and President Trump's family and all of that. That said, hey, Miss Nancy, good to see you. Love you, dear. So we have a little bit of an inside scoop. I'm not anybody special, but I know some very special people who happen to be good friends. But as I was watching the clock, I could see that they got started a little bit late, just a few minutes late. Now, the deal is you want the President of the United States to be sworn in at 12. So that the way it goes is the outgoing president, as I'm told, they are no longer president at noon. And that's, you want that to hit right on there. Well, they got started late, just slightly late. And I think it was 3 minutes behind because Vice President Vance's inauguration, swearing in, went approximately 3 minutes longer than intended, which meant President Trump was 3 minutes past the time which he should have been sworn in. So Chief Justice, and I'll chalk this up as the speechifying ahead of time. In all fairness, Amy Klobuchar and the other lady, hey, Martin, how you doing? From Mexico. We're trying to surge help to you, brother. We're trying to surge help. Again, the PayPal is at DRSHAWNGREENER at DrShawnGreener.com. You can send it there to PayPal. If you had Zelle, you could send it directly to me at Zelle, at my Zelle account. That's fine too. And then we surge that to our dear brother Ismail, and we're trying to set up some things to help Martin. And the need is very urgent. So, the speechifying that was going on was really something. In fairness, Amy Klobuchar, I'm not a fan of hers, but Amy Klobuchar, not because she has a D after her name. I'm a fan of lots of people with D's after their name. But she's, I'm not a huge fan of hers. Some of her behavior is a little bit reprehensible. That being said, she was the co-chair of the Inauguration Committee. And, they had a hey, Dr. Frazier, how are you, dear brother? Love you. Love you. I hope you're doing well. Sure do miss you. I tell the folks all the time about the Bible I have behind me, the Thompson chain reference I got when we were in seminar, and I ran out at lunchtime with my family to get an appropriate Bible for the remaining class, and it was a Thompson chain reference, and I bought two of them, and I had Dr. Fry, my dear friend, Dr. Fry. I had him sign one of them, and I had you sign the other, and they are treasured right behind me there. So thank you so much. I'll never forget that. So, Amy Klobuchar and the other, and I apologize because I don't remember the other lady's name. It just popped out of my head. But they really had a curveball thrown at them really last second, really last second, because they had to change everything they had set up from being an outdoor inauguration to and swearing in, and to an indoor swearing in. And instead of anticipating hundreds of thousands, now you've really got a very small space, and you've got to figure out who's coming, who can come, who can't. There were hundreds of thousands of people in D.C. We know that because all the hotels were full. And even well outside D.C., surging well outside D.C. You might say, well, why did so few come? Because the press is saying that, and of course the liberal press is saying this, that, well, the real reason they moved it inside was because that President Trump wasn't going to draw big crowds, or he was worried that he wouldn't draw big crowds, so then he wanted inside. By the way, that decision is not 100% his to make. He has some input on that, but the inauguration committee could have easily said, you know what, we're gonna do as we've planned. We're gonna do it outside. Bitter cold. That bitter cold is here. It's actually a little bit warmer here than it was there, and I'm very thankful. And they did that because, quite frankly, that's a brutal thing. If you've ever had to work out in the cold for a very long day, you know it's really tricky. Plus, now I'm going to divulge something to you. This is not a magician divulging tricks here, but it's important to understand that from a security standpoint, big coats, if it's 12 degrees or 10 degrees or, minus something wind chill, you have to, by the way, Robert, if I didn't say hello to you, I apologize. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining on such late notice. So when you're wearing so many things, it makes it much more difficult to monitor what people are doing with their hands, what's on them. You have to pat them down. You have to do all these things. It's a massive undertaking to secure a location. So that's one issue. The other issue is, not for nothing, the 45th and 47th president of the United States of America, and yes, he's your president. If you don't claim him, that doesn't make him any less your president. You're still his constituent. All that said to say, I like the decision. I think it was wise. I think it made a lot of sense. But the reason why not that many people came to the National Mall and up to the Capitol steps and all that was because they knew that there wasn't going to be an outdoor inauguration, that it was going to be indoor. Now, the committee, I think they did what they felt they could. There were no big screens out there. They didn't think anybody was going to come. By the way, Amy Klobuchar and the other lady, apologies again, I don't mean to be rude or dismissive. They agreed. They felt like it was a wise decision, and they're on record agreeing. And really everybody agreed. They agreed, and then on the left, they came out and said, oh boy, this is, and one of the reasons the press was upset was because the press now is outside. They're limited. There's only so much space inside for the press and for people and all of that. So there were they had a lot fewer assistants and directors and production assistants there to run the thing. So they had to do a lot of that remotely, and it's difficult. However, I applaud them, but that was the committee's decision to not have the giant screens like President Trump had during all of his rallies, and the sound system to really push the sound out, even outside. I think that was, they should have had all that stuff there. I really don't understand why all of it was taken away. That doesn't make sense to me. But most of the people went home or stayed in their hotels and watched it on television. That's just how it is. That's what they did. So why would they stand out in the cold? There were several thousand people who did go and stand out in the cold. Now there were thousands of people, tens of thousands of people who had tickets, and they said, "Hey, we want to go to the Capital One Center." There were so many people who had tickets. I have personal friends who had tickets and waited in line literally from early in the morning, the day before even, to go in to the Capital One Center, to be allowed to go in. That's difficult. That's a real challenge. And I don't know any president, at least in my lifetime, that people would stand outside like that for. And they might not get in. And many tens of thousands didn't get in because there's only so much space inside there. all of this was done very hasty, very quickly. So I want to give props to Amy Klobuchar and again the other lady, I can't remember her name, because they did do a good job. Now, here's where the rub was. So you have walk-up timed. You have the walk-up, what they call a walk-up time. And that's, you figure out how long it's going to take for each person that you're announcing. And it's done by protocol in a certain order. So they've got all that timed out. Well, now you've got a much smaller distance. You've got a much smaller waiting area, which of course has to be secured properly according to the different security levels and threat levels of the president. Again, the president got shot in his ear just a couple millimeters from being assassinated. And then there was another assassination attempt. And what America doesn't know, there were many other plots that were foiled, that those are going to come out in the coming days. That they are going to come out, especially once the Secret Service leadership changes. You're going to see some amazing things. Anyway, so because of that timing difference, and trying to get people in their places. And I don't know if you guys know Theo Von, he was there inside. Joe Rogan was there inside. Many other huge celebrities were inside. But Theo Von's a really funny comedian. And he has a very successful podcast. And then Joe Rogan, of course, Joe Rogan. And so Theo Von, I have to thank my son Doyle because he told me about this. I wasn't aware of it. Theo Von's chair broke in half right as they were doing things. I mean, literally broken in half. It's on video. And he ends up on the floor. And, thank goodness they got him up and he was okay. But there were a lot of things that slowed things down behind the scenes that people watching on television just wouldn't know. The timing of the 21 gun salute, which is customary, now instead of having the cue that they would have had with no delay, they're going to know because they're listening to the playthrough. Now they can't listen to the playthrough because it's indoors and there has to be a relay system put into place. There's a whole big thing with that. So they had to figure out how to do it, how to let them know, hey, it's time for the 21 gun salute. So they're behind about 3 minutes. So essentially, technically we were without a president for 3 minutes. So, and I don't love this guy. Chief Justice John Roberts was, and again, don't love the guy. I'm not mad with him that he did this, but I think a major fumble. I don't think the guy should be Chief Justice. That was a really, really major fumble of Bush 43. That was a huge fumble. He's anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but he really, really, really messed up. But he was also put in a situation where the timing people weren't giving him the cues because it was all set up different. There was no room for the production assistants to be there because those are the people with the little earbuds that go, okay, now. And so the swearing in of the vice president, he got his whole family up there and he wouldn't start until his family was there. Understandable. This is the big thing. Look, historic vice president of the United States of America. This guy, where he came from, J.D. Vance, where he came from, what he overcame to get there. This is history. This is a story. It's a true, amazing story of what you can do when you put your mind to overcoming, not just one day or a few days, but for a lifetime. He's also one of the youngest vice presidents we ever had. Really an amazing guy. And I really look forward. I really hope that this term goes as we believe it will go, as it looks like it's going to go, and that, he'll be the handoff guy to take the football for 8 years. And my dream is that Ron DeSantis would be vice president and that then Ron DeSantis would then step into the president role after J.D. Vance fulfills his 2 terms. Anyway, that's just a dream. We'll see if we can make it happen. So Chief Justice John Roberts, he was trying to catch up, right? He was trying to catch up on that lost time. So when President Trump got up, how it was supposed to happen, I know this because, I have very, very close friends who were right there and watched it happen, not down but right there. And so he's trying to play catch up. And I understand it. You know, he felt like, oh, we're without a president. We got to hurry. And again, that's a technicality, but who knows? You know, you got two elderly men, one, you know, with dementia, and you got the other who is sharp as a tack, sharper than me. And, you know, he was sharper than me at 20 years old. So, hey, come on now. That guy's, man, oh man, then the energy, unbelievable. So when President Trump and First Lady Melania, hello, anybody see the outfit? Anybody see the outfit? Can I get an amen? Holy shamoly. Was she ever elegant and beautiful? My son told me, Dad, you think about the, what did he say it was? Dang it, I can't remember. A Vendetta, V for Vendetta. That's what it looked like. If you look at that, wow. Oh my, but still, so striking. If she's not on, I said this probably 20 times that day. Jerry, you can probably correct that probably 200 times that day. We were like, if she's not on a fashion magazine or something for how she looked, come on now. Now, the other woman, she forgot to bring her clothes. Bezos's girlfriend, fiance, she must have been dressing. She must put on her pants or her the bottoms, and then she got like me with a brain injury. Maybe she has a brain injury. I don't know. She's 55 years old, which she doesn't look 55. In fairness, the surgeries have been effective, if not a little bit weird, but again, her choice. And then she must have gotten distracted and then just put her blazer on thinking she had already put her shirt on. But instead she had on a bra or bustier or whatever that thing is called. Come on now, tacky. You're not going to the club, girl. You ain't going to the club. You ain't finna, it ain't a rave or some kind of thing. You know, you ain't finna, you know what I mean? You know, all the bumping music and all that. Come on now. Come on. Little tacky. Lot tacky. Anyway, I digress. If the others managed to put all their clothes on, I think you could have managed to. You're a grown woman. You're smart. You're a pilot. You're a best-selling children's book author. You know, come on now. So anyway, John Roberts, he's trying to catch up. Melania again. Psh, come on now. Come on. Hey, Miss Colleen, how are you? You can testify. So have you ever seen posture like that? Have you ever seen posture over that whole length of time? Now, President Trump wanted his whole family to kind of be in a U, if you can imagine this shape, kind of be in a U around him. Again, there's not much room. And some of them actually couldn't get in the space that they were couldn't even have time to practice this. They didn't have time to practice this. This was wow. This was really, really quick. If you watch the video, First Lady Melania, she gets up on cue and she stands up as if she's boom up. Those heels, I don't know how she stands in them, let alone walk on them, but she does. Didn't stumble. Anyway, you got your 6'8" or 9, Baron. Anybody? All right, I'm gonna do maybe a poll. We'll call that a poll. If you're listening on playback, put in the comments on the YouTube channel, True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn, what you think Barron said. Watch the video. Barron goes over, he goes over to former President Joe Biden, shakes his hand, leans way over, and whispers something to Joe Biden, and then turns and walks away, and then turns back with a sort of a, you heard me, type of look on his face. Make sure he saw him, and then goes and sits down. Jerry had a great observation, and if you were in chat, you'd see this. A cross between Clint Eastwood and Raquel Welch. First Lady, a cross between a young Clint Eastwood and a Raquel Welch. And did she ever have a look? She was like, Y'all tried to kill my husband. You tried to ruin our family. You had a bunch of people come raid our house. and go through my lingerie drawer for whatever reason. Yeah. Yeah. I don't forget. I don't blame her. I don't blame her. If they'd done that, I don't have it. I would, good lands. I would not be able to stand there and have the decorum that she had. Anyway, so President Trump's family, the goal was to come around in a U shape, and obviously, height arranged and all that, and the grandkids and all that. Why not? Why wouldn't he? He was the 45th president, and they tried to do everything they could, put him in jail, kill him, you name it. And now he's the 47th president, popular vote, 7 swing states. I believe he won in 2020. I do. I believe he won. You can't tell me. Come on. You can't tell me that Biden from the basement Biden, former President Biden, got more votes than Barack Obama, and he was working from his basement. No way. Nope. Where were all those millions of people that didn't vote this time? Were they apathetic? Did they dislike former Vice President Kamala? Was that it? No, I don't think so. Come on. None of y'all rational people really believe that Biden won the 2020 election fair and square. He didn't. Anyway, so being as the family wanted to gather around, instead of waiting for the family to gather around, Chief Justice starts. And his pace is super rapid. It's uncharacteristically rapid. While all this hullabaloo is going on behind him and around him, because from his family, they're all trying to gather and get into place. And Melania is trying to get in, First Lady is trying to get in place because she's holding the Bible. She's holding his dedication Bible from, I think, 12 years old when he was dedicated in the Presbyterian Church. And when he completed all his learning that you do there. And then also the Lincoln Bible. She's holding the Lincoln Bible and a precious Bible to President Trump from his personal history, his personal faith history. So she's holding them and she's protecting them because let's be honest, those are very, very important things, personal thing to President Trump and to our country, President Lincoln's Bible, his personal Bible. Come on. And so you're talking about, archive history here. So all that said to say, before she can get into place and before he can place his hand, the 47th President of the United States could place his hand on the Bibles, he's already having to answer Chief Justice John Roberts. He's already having to give answers. He has no time because, and he doesn't want to say, well, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Any of those things. He doesn't want to be that guy. President Trump doesn't operate on that kind of thing. He operates on excellence. And so he's listening intently, repeating precisely what has been just, machine gunned at him by John Roberts. So, and where First Lady Melania Trump was standing was different than where she would have been standing. So it would have been, think of it this way, President Trump here and then First Lady here. So she would be facing across him on his left side, facing his right. Instead, she was like this. And she tried to lean a little bit, but there was no room. Honestly, there was no room. So what had happened was she's not able to get into a position to even kind of reach the Bibles down and scoop up President Trump's hand so it's on it. She didn't want to distract him. I don't blame her. She knows her husband. She didn't want to distract him. I guess she was hoping, I hope it's going to be all right. I don't blame her. I think I 100% understand why she did what she did. And I 100% understand why he did what he did. Now, I'm doing this show because I was asked by a dear friend, people were beating his ear about, Trump's actually not a Christian. We've all been duped because he has, and all this stuff. People are just beating his ear with this. And come on, Christian conspiracists, tinfoil hat folk, let go of all that. Reason. Confirmation bias is a very dangerous thing. I did a whole show on it under my live tab. Everything is free on True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up, click on the little bell so you get all the notifications. Anyway, it wasn't that at all. It was a matter of the circumstances. So, and Chief, if you watch, Chief Justice started before his family was even. It was kind of crazy. And you could see the looks on their face like, what the heck? And, if you're in that position and the whole world's watching and you're the 45th and 47th president of the United States and you've heard all of the really terrible things that the left has been saying about you, the media, and again, I'm redundant when I say the media and the left, they've been saying about you all this time. He doesn't want to seem at all like, the person he is succeeding. His predecessor, he wants to be sharp because that's how he operates. I can't imagine. So that's why I answered this question, and that's why I did that, because of my friend who has a much larger following than I have. Hey Deborah, why did Melania have 2 books in her hand, and what was the top one? So I just answered that. You're probably just catching up in the feed here. There's probably a little bit of delay. So I'll answer it again because I want everybody to know. The 2 Bibles were President Trump's personal Bible that was given to him when he went through the training and the education, I want to say in the Presbyterian church that he grew up in. And so he was given a Bible, and it had an inscription in it that's very near and dear to him, and he's had it his whole life. Now, I was given a Bible. I have a Bible collection behind me. Okay, I just answered that, but I will. Why did he have his hand on a book? Okay, I'll try to answer that in a second. So the 2 Bibles were his personal Bible, President Trump's personal Bible from his childhood. The other Bible was the Lincoln Bible. The actual Lincoln Bible. Many presidents have been sworn in on the Lincoln Bible. That's the Bible that President Lincoln got sworn in on. That's the Bible he got sworn in on. So that's why there were 2 Bibles. And the goal was to put his hand on the stack of 2 Bibles that First Lady Melania Trump was holding. But because of the positioning and the speed at which Chief Roberts was going, because he was trying to catch up, there was no time. President was already answering, repeating the oath. Why did the vice president have his hand on a book in his wife's hand and not the officiant's Bible? His wife she had a Bible. She had a Bible, and I can't remember what Bible it was. It's an important Bible. I don't remember which one it was because I wasn't thinking about that Bible, but he had his hand on the Bible as well. And it's customary for the spouse or you can name some special person to hold the Bible that you then put your hand on top of the Bible and you swear your oath. Your left hand will be on that. You raise your right hand, and that's kind of how it works normally. And it worked fine for vice president because, anyway. So if you want, you can go back. It's free to do. You can go back. Once this episode finishes, you can go back and listen to the whole thing where I explain all that in detail. But thank you for asking the question. So then the question came to me, what does the Bible, one of my dear listeners, what does the Bible say about swearing oaths? Like, why do we do that? And I've been asked that an awful lot, and I'm sure she was probably surprised how quickly I responded because I've been asked this so much and I've answered it so much and it's a good question, that I prepared a response. So the Bible offers mixed perspectives on, so she wanted to know, well, why do we swear oaths anyway? I thought the Bible says we're not supposed to. And again, I'm a big context guy. I like to know the full context. So in my case, I like detail. I'm a detail-oriented person. So the Bible offers mixed perspectives on the practice of swearing oaths, including whether it's appropriate for followers of God to swear oaths. So here's a look, and I tried to kind of make this a little bit basic, but detailed, at the relevant scripture and how it might apply to the practice of swearing an oath on the Bible. So we're going to look at the Old Testament, we're going to look at some other things, but the Old Testament and the encouragement of oaths. Deuteronomy 10:20, chapter 10, verse 20. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him, cling to him, and swear by his name. That's Deuteronomy 10:20. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him, cling to him, and swear by his name. So swearing an oath in God's name was permitted in the Old Testament as a means of affirming truthfulness and invoking God as a witness. Now, Yesh was teaching against oaths. You might think, well, this contradicts. I mean, that's a troublesome thing. Well, not actually. Matityahu, or Matthew 5:33 through 37, again, complete Jewish Bible. Again, you have heard that our fathers were told, do not break your oath and keep your vows to Adonai. But I tell you not to swear at all. Just let your yes be a simple yes and your no a simple no. Anything more than this has its origin in evil. Now, Yeshua Jesus teaches that a believer's word should be sufficient without the need for oaths. No, I'm telling you, I swear. I was where I said I was. I swear. Right? You know, that's the more basic way that comes to bear. But, you know, I've sworn several oaths in my lifetime. You know, oh man. When I became a police officer, actually before I became a police officer, I was in the military and then post-military service, you swear an oath there as well. And then as a police officer, you swear an oath. And then when you're federally deputized, for different things, you swear an oath there as well. So you swear an oath. That's how it works. I put my hand on the Bible many, many times. And, you know, so help me God. So Yesh was teaching that a believer's word, very, very important, follower of the way, should be sufficient without the need for oaths, suggesting that truthfulness should come from character rather than some external promise. Oh man, I put my hand. Now this is the thing, you know, I'm an expert witness in many, many different courts. And so, as a expert witness on terrorism, counterterrorism, Islam, and some other things, you know, if I were to testify, I have to put my left hand on the Bible, raise my right hand, and I have to swear, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. So I've had to do it a bazillion times. So then there's James' affirmation, James 5:12. Above all, brothers, stop swearing oaths, not by heaven, not by the earth, and not by any other formula. Rather, let your yes be simply yes, and your no simply no, so that you won't fall under condemnation. Now, like Yeshua or Jesus, James warns against the casual or unnecessary swearing of oaths. So key words there, casual or unnecessary swearing of oaths. So there's a cultural and a practical context here. In Yeshua's time, Jesus' time, people often swore by various objects. An example would be the temple. I swear by heaven. I hate to hear this. I swear to God. I swear to God. I hate that. Oh, I hate to hear that. Hate it. Just, it's crass. It's so disrespectful. But they, you know, that's kind of what they were swearing to. And others who weren't sincere were swearing to, you know, I swear to the temple, I swear to heaven, whatever. I swear to my Uncle Jimmy, you know, I swear to, you know, whatever, pizza, whatever. You know, they were swearing to things and making more of an idol out of that thing than anything else. A big difference swearing in his name and affirming on a Bible. Jerry, who was very knowledgeable in these things, big difference between swearing in his name and affirming on a Bible. So as a way to, these people are making swearing, some of them are liars, they're cheaters, and they're swearing as a way to bolster credibility, which could lead to dishonest or manipulative practices. Now, modern day criminals, when they testify, they'll swear all the oaths in the world. That's why this whole gun control thing, I'm going to take away the guns. America has too many guns. You know, we're going to make it safe. Like what? South Africa? Like Australia? I don't know, like Chicago? DC? Philadelphia? New York City? How many other cities? You want to name a bunch more liberal cities? L.A.? Well, supposedly you can't have a gun. I remember Miss Colleen saying several times when they talk about mass murder or some kind of big shooting and a bunch of people are killed in one of these cities where they have the toughest gun laws in the world. Well, that can't be. That must be fake news because they have tough gun laws. They're not allowed to have guns. So I don't know how they would have done it. And then the left will say, the anti-gun folks will say, the ignorant will say, well, we don't have enough laws. We need universal background checks. By the way, we already have them. Well, the gun show loophole. By the way, there is no gun show loophole. At a gun show, you buy a gun. You have to go through the same procedure that you would at a gun shop. You have to fill out the same paperwork, and then you don't get the gun unless you come back clean. Oh, well, people go to gun shows and they'll be out in the parking lot and they'll have a trunk full of guns and they'll just be handing them out for cash. They don't care. People wear me out. Those people wear me out. Anyway, so, what you swear, hey, look, our own former vice president and former president, Joseph Biden, his son Hunter, the great artist, con artist, but whatever. He swore when he signed that gun application that he wasn't a druggie. Well, he was convicted, and then he was pardoned. My point is, I digress. He swore, and that swearing meant nothing to him. Lots of criminals swear, and it means nothing. So Yeshua emphasized integrity and truth without the need for such gestures. Now, modern oath-taking during inaugurations or court proceedings often serve as a formal acknowledgement of the seriousness of the occasion rather than an invitation to dishonesty. So it's swearing on a Bible. This is a symbolic gesture aligning with the act of a commitment to divine truth and justice. Now, in the modern age, permissibility. Swearing an oath on the Bible, it may be acceptable for believers who view it as a solemn act of truthfulness before God. Not before that room, but before God. God, I'm telling the truth on your word, consistent with Old Testament principles. Now, a lot of people will say, well, the Old Testament, that's over. That's, the New Testament happened and Yeshua, he abolished the law. No, he didn't. I came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. So, but I'm going to caution against misuse. Followers of Yeshua, Jesus, might interpret Jesus' teaching as discouraging oaths in favor of living with integrity and allowing one's consistent honesty to be the testimony. Listen, if you're known as a liar and then you put your hand on the Bible, that doesn't automatically suddenly go, oh, well, he's telling the truth this time or she's telling the truth this time. If you're an habitual liar, come on. But if you live your life with integrity and character and truthfulness, when you do this is an extension of your personal integrity, your personal honesty. So you maybe have a personal conscience issue here. Romans 14:23 reminds believers that anything not based on trust is a sin. A believer should follow, if you're a follower of the way, you should follow your conviction about whether swearing on the Bible aligns with your faith. Now, if you're going to court, if you're up for jury duty, if you have to testify in court, anything that you have to swear an oath to, you do not have to put your hand on the Bible. You don't have to do that. There are many, many atheists and agnostics who refuse to put their hand on the Bible. Various Congress people have been sworn in on Quran instead of the Holy Scriptures, our true Holy Scriptures. They have been sworn in on the Quran. And I have some issues with it because in the Quran, if you have read the Quran or the Umdat al-Salik, which is it translated the reliance of the traveler, you know that you can, if you're a Muslim, if you're an observant Muslim, you can't swear an oath at all. You can't do it because we're infidel. And you can't swear to anything of the infidel. So if you're a Muslim police officer, if you're a Muslim senator, a Muslim congressperson, whatever, Muslim mayor, whatever you want to be, you can't swear. As a Muslim, you can't swear. Well, that's not in the Quran. Yeah, it actually is. It actually is. Do you know how many adherents to Islam have never read the Quran? Ever. Not one time. Before you get too happy about that, Christians, how many Christians have never read this book, the Word of God? How many have never read it? How many have never picked it up? Not just this week, ever. So we can't get too happy. We can't get too high and mighty and higher and, we can't do that. Why? Because we're just as guilty. We're just as guilty. I wrote a book. Has a little bit to do with that, called The True Word, Faith for Life, with Dr. Shawn, Michael Greener. This book, that photo, see that photo there? I shot that image. This book is textbook quality, 60-pound pages. Thank you to Martin and Marshall. All of your help, amazing. Soon it's available now. lulu.com, and you search Dr. Shawn Michael Greener. Boom, take you right there. The ebook is there. This hardbound book is there. It's available all the other places, but our ministry, if you buy any of those other places and not lulu.com, unfortunately, we get $1. And so we try to turn anything that we make off of this right back into the ministry. So all that said to say, by the way, the money that we're raising for Martin, if you choose to give, if you're able to give, at Dr. Shawn Greener, at DrShawnGreener, on PayPal. If you did it on PayPal or Zelle or whatever, if you choose to give, I don't keep any of that. They charge me, but I don't keep any of it. And so none of us do. None of us in this process keep a dime of it. And no, I'm not a 501c3. I'm just a dude trying to help out another dude finish well in his life. So presidential oaths and symbolism, the use of the Bible during modern oaths, such as the presidential swearing in ceremony, inauguration, it's a cultural practice rather than a biblical mandate. It reflects the nation's historical acknowledgement of Judeo-Christian values. I'm going to say it again, Jewish, and Christian values. So if you're a person you ever run for office, my dear friend Scott from Minnesota, you betcha, he's now on the council. And so he ran for office and he had to swear in. And so if he were to decide, no, I'm not going to put my hand on a Bible for whatever reason, he wouldn't. He's definitely going to do that. He's a hardcore believer. But if, let's say he wasn't, he can't be compelled to do that. And that doesn't make his oath any less binding. So the Bible doesn't directly address modern practices like inaugurations, obviously. But it teaches that truth and integrity should underpin all of our actions. Swearing on the Bible is not inherently wrong, but it should be done with a clear conscience. Just like when and honestly, a deep respect for the gravity of invoking God's name. Do not take it lightly, just like none of my Bibles. Listen, these Bibles go outside. This Bible goes outside. It's got a cover. It's got a cover on it, or it's in my case. And even when I put it in my case, it's in a cover. I mean, I protect my Bibles. I see people with the Bibles on their floor in the back seat, up on the little deck area in the back, and I think, oh my lands, their Bibles have 10 layers of dust on them, grow potatoes on them. I just think that's disrespectful. That's me. You do you. So maybe we should collaborate on presentation about swearing and oaths. Yeah, I would love that. Would love that. Absolutely. So I guess, for me personally, I don't have an issue with it at all. I think Scripture supports, your choice to do that. But if you do that, you don't want to do it lightly. You don't swear an oath lightly. And if you're lying and you put your hand on the Bible and you're swearing an oath, well, you're just a lying fool, and you're demeaning the act of swearing or swearing an oath, swearing to tell the truth with your hand on the Bible. That's just a show, and that's no good. That's no good. And I think you will pay for that. Anyway, so I promised that I would talk about, everybody's asking me, or a lot of people are asking me, who is the Episcopal bishop, who on January 21st, you remember the next morning there was an interfaith prayer service. Now, I said prayer breakfast, National Day of Prayer and prayer breakfast, different thing altogether. I got to go to one. It's pretty cool. So you're going to be surprised to learn that the Right Reverend Marianne Edgar Bude, B-U-D-D-E, Bude, she's the bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington. Right Reverend. She's the bishop. The bishop. Not the pawn, the bishop. So anyway, enough jokes. I'm sorry. Man, the Episcopal denomination is just pitiful. It's just so pitiful. You know, I don't even know. How did it get to this place? I don't know. I don't know the answer. All I can tell you is good lands. That's all I can say. Bless her heart. You're going to be shocked to know she's not gay. Everybody thinks she's gay. She's not gay. She's married to a man. Well, she may still be gay and married to a man. I don't know. But I'm just saying, whatever. So this is a role that she held, the bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington. By the way, no small role. No, even though the Episcopal faith, the denomination as a whole, nationally and internationally, is shrinking massively. It's not the only one. Let's not throw rocks. It's not the only one. All of the Protestant denominations are shrinking, and the Catholic faith is shrinking as well. So most Protestant and Catholic denominations, they're shrinking massively. Episcopal is kind of a little bit leading the way. They're really, really, really shrinking. Anyway, it used to be known Episcopals were just Catholics who wanted to be able to get married. So there's some substantive differences between the Episcopal and Catholic, but they're enough alike where that kind of still holds. So the Right Reverend Marianne Edgar Bude she's well known. By the way, this is what they call it, consecrated. The bishops get consecrated in 2011. That's what she's done there in Washington, 2011. She's very well known, lest you think she's just some rando popping up there. Hey, y'all, I figured I would just say a few things since the president and all, everybody here. I'm just going to say a few things. Just get it out there. I take advantage. On my 15 minutes of fame. No, she's well known. She's well appreciated among her people and outside the Episcopal Church for her, again, air quotes, leadership, her commitment to social justice, and her advocacy for inclusion and progressive values in the church and society. So she was born December 10th, 1959. December 10th, you all do the math. I don't, whatever. She's a little bit older than me. Anyway, she earned a bachelor's degree in history from the University of Rochester, which I've been there, in New York. And then she earned her Master of Divinity, MDiv. She received that at Virginia Theological Seminary in Alexandria, Virginia, one of the leading seminaries of the Episcopal Church. She also earned a Doctor of Ministry, DMin, focusing on congregational development. So I would probably liken that to my degree from Master's in theology, practical. By the way, my leader in that was Dr. Frazier. So doctor in practical theology, essentially was what it ends up being. And so he was phenomenal. He was so patient with me. Anyway, so I guess that would align with that. That would be pretty much that. So before becoming the bishop of, by the way, hello to Facebook Live, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Quora, and others. By the way, follow me on Quora. I have 4.5 million views there. Well, not for nothing. I write some edgy things there, so whatever. You can if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to follow me on X. You don't have to do any of that stuff if you don't want to, but I'd love for you to. You can follow me on Facebook if you want. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. Well, it's not, you can do what you want. You're free. So before becoming the bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C. She served in parish ministry for many years. Where did she serve? St. John the Baptist Episcopal Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What else happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota? Oh, yeah, there was this big thing about this fella who was on drugs. And then enough drugs to kill a whole bunch of people. It was going to kill him anyway. And then he had an encounter with the police. And he was close enough to put his hand on it. It was very close quarters. Wouldn't that make it even easier? If you're referring to, Deborah asked the question, he was close enough to put his hand on it. If it was very close quarters, wouldn't that make it even easier? No, it would not. And I'll tell you why. And if you go back and listen, you'll get the explanation. You know, this started before she was not standing where she would have stood in sort of an L to him on his left side, his left flank, President Trump's left flank. And she was going to hold the Bible in front of him. He was going to reach out in front of him. There was no possibility of doing that. The only thing she could have done is reach down. Now she's holding a precious Bible, two precious Bibles, one precious to President Trump and one precious to the nation, the Lincoln Bible. The Lincoln Bible. Hello, very old. And, you know, there's a lot that comes with that. She's holding this thing. I think she was wearing white gloves. And so she's not going to take a chance of dropping it and reach around. She's not going to reach down and grab the president's hand while he is doing an oath, which he's several words in on this, and plop his hand on it. Because she doesn't want to distract him because she knows that he is laser focused. She doesn't want to distract him by grabbing his hand or saying, hey, you don't have your hand on the Bible. You know, she's not going to do that. I wouldn't have done it either. No way. So anyway, St. John the Baptist Episcopal Church, you remember, what was that guy's name? Black Lives Matter, bunch of riots, bunch of explosions. Well, he's a great hero. There's statues of the guy, statues. He was a great hero, freedom fighter, hero for the black, cause. And, oh gosh, I can't think of his name. Oh, it's the St. George Floyd. Really, really good guy. I do a show on that. I'll explain why that is satire, because he was a very, very bad person. Anyway, whole different show. But same city, Minneapolis, Minnesota. She was the rector, which is senior pastor of St. John the Baptist Episcopal Church. During her tenure, she grew the congregation significantly, focusing on outreach, social justice, and fostering a strong sense of community. Then Bishop of Washington, 2011 to present. As bishop, Booty oversees the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, which includes the Washington National Cathedral. Interesting. And the Episcopal congregations throughout Washington, D.C. and parts of Maryland. She is one of the most prominent Episcopal bishops in the United States due to her position in the nation's capital. Now you might wonder, what does the Right Reverend Marianne Boudet, what does she like to, what causes does she like to push? Well, we'll discuss them. She's a very prominent voice in addressing issues such as racial justice, the LGBTQ plus inclusion, gun violence prevention. Oof, man. Guns do a lot of violence. I don't know if you know. If I had any, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I hear from the left, there's a lot of guns just going out and shooting people. Even in cities that it's not allowed. Oh, you bet, Deborah. I'm glad to answer it. Deborah says, thanks for the answers. You bet. It's my pleasure to do it. So gun violence, she's big on that. Gun violence, she's not effective because there's a bunch of murders in Washington, D.C. There's a bunch of murders in Maryland and, around the district and Northern Virginia and all that, where guns aren't allowed. Not allowed. Gun violence, but shouldn't we just say violence prevention? Maybe that would be a good idea. And maybe let the good people have guns. And so they fight back. Well, who is everybody getting killed? I don't think it's what they think it is. I don't think this gun violence thing is working out like they think. And the role of faith in public life. This is another thing that she's really an advocate of. The Right Reverend. Some highlights of her leadership and advocacy include social justice. She has been outspoken about systemic racism, inequality, and gun violence. For those of you in the audio version only, I am making giant Shawn hands, air quotes. Just think of what you're missing. True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Go to that YouTube channel, click on the subscribe, click on the thumbs up, and all little bell does all. Anyway, she encourages the church to take active roles in these areas and has supported initiatives that promote equity and justice. Now, we have a separate line for LGBTQ+++ inclusion. Now, I don't know what that means, because if you're LGBTQ+++, there's no signs up on doors to institutions that say, hey, if you're a LGBTQ+++, whatever, that you're not allowed in here. No, you're no longer allowed if you're a dude pretending to be a girl. Well, you're no longer allowed to play in women's sports. First of all, it's weird. It's super weird. There are a lot of people in the prisons, which, by the way, this has been stopped. As of 1/20/25, President Trump put a stop to Bureau of Prisons, paying for sex changes and then paying for medicine. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the Bureau of Prisons that pays for it. It's you and it's moi. So not for nothing. I don't think I want my money going to that. I don't know about y'all, but no for me. Hashtag hard no. So they're not excluded from places, but she's a strong advocate for LGBTQ+++ rights. The word in the article by Reuters, they use the word rights within the Episcopal Church and society at large. So I don't know if the Constitution, or is it saying there, if you're gay or any one of these letters, you don't have the rights. I don't know. You got me. I don't know where to see where, but whatever. In all aspects of the church's life and ministry. Then as clergy, she was a leader. She demonstrated leadership. As a bishop, she's worked to strengthen clergy leadership and congregational vitality. Now, I don't know if it's during her homily. She leads the congregation in jumping jacks, 8-count bodybuilders, burpees to some of you. I don't know if there's a sit-up section, if they're planking. Maybe there's a bunch of things of water. Me feeling ill? No, I feel great. Oh, you're talking about Chris Cycle. Yeah, it's kind of gross. I don't blame him. Kind of grosses me out, some of the stuff that dudes that want to, this Leah Thomas dude, 6'4", 6'5" guy that was a chump, ranked 400 and something just the year before swimming. All of a sudden he says, hey, I'm going to pretend to be a girl and I'm going to mop up. And he did. He won a bunch of things, but guess what? All that has been taken away now because common sense has been restored. Anyway, that's what's the gross vomit thing. It's disgusting. Anyway, she being the Right Reverend Bishop Boudet, Marianne Boudet, she has worked to strengthen clergy leadership, congregational vitality. Again, maybe there's a tub of that ice water everybody's loving to do now. And maybe everybody, come on, be vital. You jump in that. You lay in that for a little bit and then get out of it. You can feel great. It can be cold for a while, but then you're going to feel great. Miss Colleen says that's a hard no. She's not doing it. And, but it is really good for some people. There's a lot of science behind it. It's very popular right now. I don't know that they do that. I don't know that they drag tubs in and people put on your bathing suits and jump in ice water. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know what the vitality part of it is. Maybe they mean congregational involvement, volunteerism, things of that nature, which those things aren't bad. She emphasizes the importance of pastoral care, theological education, and community engagement. I am all for those things. She gained national attention at the June 2020. Oh, wait. I just mentioned that. The Right Reverend Marianne Bude gained national attention in June 2020 during the Black Lives Matter protests after the killing of George Floyd. By the way, Black Lives Matter, I don't know if you know, took in gazillions of dollars. All their leadership has been convicted of fraud and money laundering and misuse of funds and a bazillion other things. They've been convicted. And not for nothing, they didn't build even a single community center, not even a playground. With all the money that folks gave them, they didn't even build a playground. By the way, the NBA, WNBA, NFL, and many others are still walking around with Black Lives Matter stuff. There's actually streets painted with the Black Lives Matter on it. There's streets named after George Floyd. There's a statue of George Floyd. Come on now. Based on what we know now, I don't think they should do that. Anyway, she criticized then President, he was the 45th president then, Donald J. Trump, for using St. John's Episcopal Church, known as the Church of the Presidents, in Washington, D.C. as a backdrop for a photo op after federal officers forcibly cleared peaceful protesters from the area. By the way, they set the church on fire. They're peaceful, though. I mean, that's peaceful. I don't know where you come from. I just come from a little town in Delaware called Love Creek. It's not even a town. It's just a place directly in between Lewis, Lewes, first town in the first state, and Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. I come from there. I'm a little country boy from there, so I don't know. What do I know? But I think if they set fire to stuff and they assault people and they lock police officers in a police station and set fire to them and set fire to national things and knock over statues and spray paint and do stuff and fight cops and all of that, law enforcement, I don't think it's peaceful. I don't think it's forcibly clear. This is Reuters. Forcibly cleared peaceful protesters from the area. The Right Reverend Marianne Bude stated that the president's actions were antithetical to the teachings of Jesus and that the church's sacred space should not be used for political purposes. Isn't that interesting? Because just 4 years and a little bit later, she stood up and she said all kinds of crazy stuff from the lectern, from the pulpit. Political stuff. Some real political stuff. In fact, I would say almost all political stuff. Anyway, you'll be surprised to know she is married to Paul Bude, and the couple has 2 adult sons. She often speaks about the balancing the demands of ministry with family life and finds spiritual grounding in prayer, reflection, and a commitment to living out her faith. Now, here's what happened. President Donald J. Trump, the 45th and 47th, our current president, Jerry says, maybe the Right Reverend should have spent more time reading and studying the Bible instead of watching CNN. I agree. High five. Wow, it actually did that. That's pretty cool. I didn't know it could do it. Anyway, President Donald Trump attended the inaugural prayer service at the Washington National Cathedral Tuesday morning, January 21st, finishing off the festivities marking the beginning of his second term with an interfaith faith service filled with prayers and hymns and a sermon that offered a religious challenge to his administration's stated goals. About halfway through the service, President Trump, they don't say in this article, they don't say President Trump, they just say Trump, seated in the front row, heard a sermon that functioned as one of the first public criticisms of his second administration, after beginning her homily by exploring the difficulty of forging, I don't think I'd call it a homily, just to be real with y'all. You can listen to it online. It's all there. Forging a kind of unity that fosters community across diversity and division, a unity that serves the common good. The Right Reverend Marianne Bude, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington, singled out 3 foundational principles for the task: honoring the inherent dignity of every human being, honesty and humility. Now, I just want to pop in here. This is not the article. This is me. I'm not the Right Reverend Bishop anything. I'm an ordained preacher, minister. I got a few sheepskins on the wall, whatever. I'm nobody special. I'm just going to tell you. But I think there's a contradiction here we should point out. These are 3 foundational principles for the task: honoring the inherent dignity of every human being, except for the unborn. Except for the unborn. So all the innocent human beings, the totally innocent human beings that are being murdered in the womb by the millions every year. The Right Reverend thinks that that's okay, but she doesn't think that we are honoring or providing the inherent dignity of every human being, the LGBTQIA++ people. And by the way, she doesn't think we're honoring honesty or humility. Okay. Sounds good to me. Near the end of her sermon, the Right Reverend Marianne Bude directed her remarks to President Trump. Again, the article doesn't say President Trump, it says Trump. Directed to Trump himself. This is from the article. Noting the declaration in his inaugural address that he believes he was saved by God from an assassination attempt last year. Can I get an amen or thumbs up from people in comments or in the chat, whatever? I believe the same thing. I believe, no, I don't think he's a perfect person. Far from it. Guess what? Neither am I. God didn't call me to do that. I don't know what you would do if you got shot in the head, literally barely millimeters from your cranium, turning your brain matter into a pink mist, and assassinating a president of the United States, former president and future president of the United States of America, and then killing an innocent man, Corey Comparatore, and severely, critically wounding 2 others. Yeah, I think he was saved by God. Amazing. She, the Right Reverend Marianne Bude, Bishop, she then expressed concern for LGBTQ people who may feel targeted by his administration. Targeted. On Monday evening, Trump signed a blitz of executive orders, including one that condemned, by the way, I'm reading from the article, President Trump's what I would use, but whatever, including one that condemned gender ideology and declared it's the policy of the United States to recognize 2 sexes, male and female. The Right Reverend went on to say, back to the article, millions, and I quote, millions have put their trust in you. She's looking at the president. As you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. I don't know why they're scared. Can somebody tell me why they're scared? I don't know. Bude said in her sermon, and I quote again, there are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in both Democratic, Republican, and independent families who fear for their lives. I don't know what they're fearing for. I think maybe they might be a little delusional. Bude also made a plea for immigrants. Immigrants. That's an interesting term. And then the article goes on to say, I think she means illegal alien criminals. But she just says, whatever. By the way, my dear friend Jerry says Psalm 5:5 The foolish shall not stand in thy sight. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Amen. Amen. Thank you. So Booty made a plea for immigrants. This is from the article, a group under fire from Trump's incoming administration, saying they include people who, quote, pick our crops and, quote, work the night shifts in hospitals, among other vital roles. The Right Reverend Mary Ann Booty, Right Episcopal Bishop of Washington, I think he's got a typo here in the article here, preaches during the national prayer service at the Washington National Cathedral, January 21st, 2025 in Washington. Oh, that's quoting a photo, Reuters News Service photo by Jack Jenkins. Anyway, but you can't see the photo because, well, anyway, she told them to be scared. Linda, you're absolutely right. Or Susan, whichever it is, you're absolutely right. She told them to be scared because they've been told to be scared all this time. Oh, he's Hitler. Look, if he was Hitler, they wouldn't have sat on that stage. They wouldn't have sat next to him. They wouldn't have even gone to Jimmy Carter's, former President Jimmy Carter's funeral. They wouldn't have sat there. They wouldn't have been there. They wouldn't have shaken hands. There's a million things they wouldn't have done if he was actually Hitler. He is none of the things that they said he was. And if he was, they wouldn't have even come. They wouldn't have even come. So, quote, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. I don't know, they broke into the country, whatever. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. She's using that term immigrants, and I don't think she knows what that means. We are referring to illegal aliens. They're not immigrants. They're not undocumented immigrants. They're illegal. In other words, they broke federal laws, and they are aliens because they don't belong here. Now, you want to come through the front door? You're welcome. My dear friend Wes, my dear Brazilian friend, he spent $27,000 in 7 years of his life coming here legally. And he cried when he gave the oath and then he raised his right hand and he pledged, and he's now a United States citizen. I couldn't be prouder. And there are many like that. Come through the front door. So she keeps using this term immigrants. I don't think she knows what it means. The vast majority of the immigrants, she says, are not criminals. They pay taxes, she says, and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches, mosques, synagogues, gurdwara, and temples. It was a forceful rebuttal of Trump's approach to immigration. He has pledged to enact the largest deportation in history, with early reports that his administration may begin conducting deportation raids as early as Tuesday. Good job, President Trump, Tom Homan, and all of the forlorn Border Patrol, immigration, the ICE. I mean, it's been unbelievable how they've been treated. Been accused of whipping people with horses' reins and all that stuff. In addition, among President Trump's, they meant to say, first executive orders included the move to end birthright citizenship and a measure declaring a near total halt of U.S. refugee admissions program, a move widely opposed by Trump's religious critics. Well, it's not widely opposed by Trump's religious critics. It's completely opposed. And the reason it is because they make a lot of money. Catholic Charities, money laundering organization. No offense to my Catholic friends, but you should know. Catholic Charities is a money laundering organization. There's money that moves, your tax money that moves, and some private sector money, again, money laundering, moves through there, and they bring people in. They get paid for every person that they bring through their system. Yeah, I know. I don't like it either. And I know you're probably shocked to hear that. That's not supposition. It's fact. And this is what they're doing. They're not a U.S. refugee. They're illegal aliens. And look, if you're a religious critic of this, well, I guess you told me where you stand. I think you live with some ignorance. Anyway, Booty, this back to the article, then implored the president to, quote, have mercy on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away. By the way, they love to say that, taken away from their parents. Not for nothing. The two prior Democrat administrations did that at a higher level than anyone has ever seen. 300,000 children under former President Joseph R. Biden are missing. His administration lost over 300,000 children. Are they looking for them? No, they are not. The fear their parents are going to be taken away. Again, Linda or Susan, you're absolutely right. They're telling them to be afraid. Look, if you're here legally, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear. If you're not here legally, bye-bye. Say, well, how are we going to get our tomatoes and how are we going to get, construction and all this stuff? Look all around me. There are people from Latin American countries who are the hardest workers you've ever seen. There's so many, and they bust their hump in all kind of weather. Where I live, it gets hot, even though it's, as you might know, snow on the ground out there. Good lands. This place will be shut down for 2 or 3 days. Anyway, that said, they work hard. I've had them work for me at different companies that I've had, and I can tell you, they work hard. And if they don't know what to do, they'll pick up a broom. If they finish what you told them to do and you're not immediately available to tell them the next task, they pick up a broom. That's what they do. It's what they do. They're hard workers. I watched the house next door to me be built predominantly by a husband and wife and their little children. I know, it's shocking. The only thing done by Americans were the electrical and the plumbing. The plumbing had a massive leak and flooded the place. So you can't, I'm not saying everything is excellent they do, but newsflash, I had a dear friend who used to do a lot of work for me, and his work was impeccable. My friend Wes, he was a master in Brazil, his home country. But they don't recognize all his certifications of mastery in the United States. And I mean, master welder, master contractor, he could do anything, and he did it with precision. So this thing about they fear their parents will be taken away. We don't even know that they are their parents. Most likely they're just coyotes, right? And that 300,000, we think maybe they might be sold into sex slavery, maybe some trafficking. Yeah. You think? That stuff is actually happening. It's not supposition. It's not pretend. It's not tinfoil hat wearing. Anyway, back to the article. It'll take forever. Help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Listen, we welcomed in Ilan Omar. We welcomed her in, her and her brother, which she then married but anyway, that's a whole different story. Yeah, her brother. She married her brother. However, Ilan Omar, Yemen. No offense to my Yemeni friends, which I do have Yemeni friends, but a country I've been to, no offense, but kind of the armpit. There are good people there, but wow. Whew, good lands. And she came here. We educated her. We fed her. We housed her. She went to college. We paid for that. And then she commenced to hate our country. I don't think it's working out. This whole thing that we're doing about giving stuff to illegal aliens, giving them stuff. Meanwhile, disabled veterans are living under bridges. Right now, with it 12 degrees outside, they're living under bridges. They're living in cardboard boxes. They don't have any idea how they're going to get their food. And not just veterans, lots of other people. People that served in many different ways. They're homeless. They don't have anything. There's lots of people with cancer and other dread diseases. They didn't do anything wrong. We're not helping them. But illegal aliens who broke into the country, they're just giving them. Giving. Many of them hate this place. No vetting. So the Right Reverend also added, according back to the article, our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for We were once strangers in this land. They love to mistranslate, misuse that verse too. Taking it completely out of context, proof texting. Anyway, Boudet concluded, quote, "May God grant us all the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, speak the truth in love, and walk humbly with one another and our God for the good of all the people of this nation and this world." I'm just going to say we do that. This is the most generous country in the world. This is the most generous country in the world. What is this woman saying? What exactly is this woman saying? Because she's trying to pretend that we aren't the most generous, the most accepting country in this world. In the world. You can't do. Let's reverse it. Try going into Mexico. Undocumented. You end up with a bullet in your cranium. Try getting into Poland. Try sneaking into Russia. Try sneaking into Ukraine. Try sneaking into China. Try sneaking into any of these countries that are sending us their worst. Not all of the people that come here are the worst, but you know what? The best ones, they come through the front door. This most generous, friendly, accepting country in the entire known world. You know what? I'm tired of being described as some sort of white supremacist or my white privilege. I'm tired of that. Pastor or no pastor. Seminarian or no seminarian. Divinity school graduate or no, none of that. I'm tired of being called that. This is simply not true. No, I don't like DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion. You know what I like? I like meritocracies. I like for people who are legally permitted to be here to compete for jobs, to compete for different things that you compete for. And if they win, they beat me out on merit, great. I don't want my whiteness. I don't even know what that is. I'd love to know what the white privilege card is. I have not found it. Well, you wouldn't know because you're living it. I haven't found it yet. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing how, I'm racist against people jumping the border, assaulting Border Patrol, killing Border Patrol. I'm tired of the rampant, horrific crime that these ruthless, heartless gangs put on our people. I'm tired of massive amounts of money instead of going to people who are legally here, who have paid into the system. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the money going to people who aren't legally here. They broke into the country. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being told that I'm anti-LGBTQIA++++. You might be surprised to know I have many very close gay friends and family. Many. Many. And they love me and I love them. And if you want to pick on them, you're going to have to go through me. I'll fight to the death. I love them with all my heart. Stop measuring by the letters. Measure by the merit. What can you do? What are you qualified to do? And what do you do? I'm tired of hearing about it. Deborah loves my Right Reverend Bishop voice. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that. DEI, according to Jerry and many others, my dear friend Jerry, is didn't earn it. DEI. Listen, you go DEI, you might as well change it to DIE, because you know what? You do. Look, do you think that Elon Musk in SpaceX or any of the other amazing organizations he has, gives two hoots about this DEI mess? No, you put human beings on a rocket and shoot them out into space. You don't want, well, they were chosen because of their color. We chose a vice president. What did Joe Biden say? He said he was going to choose a black woman, Ketanji Brown, Justice Ketanji Brown, who is nothing but a liar. She's inept. She's a woman and doesn't know what a woman is or isn't. She was asked that during her hearings, her confirmation hearings. Please define for me what a woman is. She couldn't do it. Well, she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't. Can't define it. She are one, but she couldn't define it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden said, I'm going to look for and hire a black female. That's what I'm looking for. For vice president, I'm going to hire a black female. And to fill that vacant position in Supreme Court, I'm going to hire a black female. Okay. How's that worked out for us? Thank you for tuning in to True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Teaching the Bible as it was meant to be understood for a life that truly matters. I want you to join me on Friday at 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m., 4 p.m. this coming Friday, Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for life-changing truth. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up and for subscribing. Shalom, shalom. Shalom alaikum.